Day One Patch podcast.
Oh, no, you stole it. There's a mutiny. Hello, welcome to Day One Patch podcast, episode 323. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. I don't remember putting the date on there. Do I always put the date on this layout? Yeah, I think I do. Some of the top stories today include... Oh, wait, I forgot. Tim Spence is here. Matt Lawrence is here.
God.
We've been forgotten.
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to say, we both got forgotten. Ryan's doing a solo show.
You know what we should do, Matt? We should go make our own podcast.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna make the Day 2 Patch podcast.
Day 2.
You could do the Day 0
Ooh.
podcast.
Be at your own game.
But if you weren't forgotten, could you have been remembered? Because I did remember.
All right, Tim, we're making the Crimson Desert podcast. Let's get the hell out of here.
No, oh God, why of all things? I mean, can they even afford to sue us?
Oh my God, I don't know. Geez. They might be big. I'm buying that game. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
What game?
Crimson Desert.
I
don't know that yet.
No, I don't think so.
It's coming out.
It was shown off at the Game Awards.
Yeah, it was shown
I would
off,
presume
but it's
so.
not coming out.
Why is it not coming out?
Yeah, it was shown off, but it's not coming out specifically.
Why isn't it coming out?
No, it is. Okay, for the listener, Crimson Desert is coming out. Please check your local listings for release dates. There you go.
Google this now. I gotta check my local listings. Crimson Desert.
You get your TV guide out, like the actual like paper one, and you gotta like buy a new one every year.
Oh my God.
Is this that one you liked, Matt?
Yeah, that's why I'm buying it.
Oh,
I didn't buy Demon Souls because that isn't my thing.
You should.
Or
though.
is it?
No.
Or is
All right,
it?
some of the top stories include Microsoft increasing the price of Xbox Live Gold, Apple's first headset to be a niche precursor to eventual AR glasses, Blizzard absorbs Activision Studio after dismantling Classic Games team, and Sony's new San Diego team is working on existing franchises as well. We have the return of the Query Corner question. But we shall start our show with what's new. Matt, what's new?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, this week I don't know. I just sort of did a bunch of multiplayer stuff again. Did a whole bunch of War Thunder actually. So I've been playing this for a while. It's been like my multiplayer game. So I kind of have like an Xbox group of friends that I play with, and we kind of got sick of Call of Duty, and some of them weren't fans of Call of Duty Cold War. So we just kind of fatigued ourselves on Modern Warfare. Not a fan of Cold War, apparently. I've never tried it. So we did a little bit of GTA there a few weeks ago, and that kind of petered out because I mean that's getting old. So lately we've just been playing War Thunder. It's a free game. I think it's XS like even enhanced. It's just like kind of like a World of Tanks, but there's like ship battles, tank battles, and plane battles. We do the tank battles, and it's supposed to be like, I would say it's called like hyper realism, but I don't know how realistic it is. But there's like a lot of stats and stuff to like deal with and whatever. You have to like hit the certain parts of the tank. It's not just like shoot him till he's out of health. It's like actually like, oh, this shot got lodged in this, but then it like went through and blew up, so it killed the crew. So you only have one crew member, and that tank can't be like run with one crew, so you die. And so, like, it's stuff like that. It's like a little more technical, or quite a bit more technical. So we've been playing the crap out of War Thunder. That's been pretty fun. I've played that for over a year now, but it's just been kind of piecemeal. It's just like, again, free to play game, whatever. But it's super fun. So I've been doing a heck of a lot of that. Doing a fair bit of Fallout 76 as well. Fallout 76 almost on the season, which is a little crazy considering how early it is. Which, I mean, will be good. So it means I'll probably complete a single player game or two. And there's a couple cool ones coming out. So, Control PS5 version, whatever they're going to call that, I believe is coming out shortly. So I bought Control for a ridiculous sale a while ago on the PlayStation 4, and it came, I think it was like the complete version or whatever, and it said it comes with the PlayStation 5 version, whatever version I purchased. So I'm waiting on that. And then I think Tim was gracious enough to gift me Disco Elysium, and the complete edition or whatever, the like enhanced edition of that is coming out shortly as well. So then those will be probably like my next two in whatever order sort of single player games. But right now my single player game is Watch Dogs, just as I wait for those. And yeah, I don't know. It's been rocking the multiplayer this week.
It's funny, I bought you that game, and I've heard a whole lot about Disco Elysium as far as like hype, but I literally have no idea what that game is about at all.
It is, as far as I know, and I'm keeping it vague intentionally, it is a free roaming detective, like it's an open world detective game.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, as far as I know, it automatically upgrades to that like enhanced edition too, because I looked at a bunch of like little, like, I shouldn't say a bunch of Let's Plays, but I've looked up a bunch of like sort of promo material because I want to keep the game like a mystery, and it looks super interesting. So like I want to be able to like play it all once it all comes out. So I'll like probably rip through a bunch of the side quests and stuff like that, considering it's open world. But again, like I can only talk in generalities about it because I'm trying to keep it mystery because you're a detective, as far as I know, I would presume that any information would be a spoiler.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm trying to keep it intentionally vague. So that's why I'm just gonna do it then. But yeah, like I'm super excited to play it. Like it looks super interesting, and I think I first spotted it, I want to say like at the Game Awards a year or two ago, and I was just like, I was interested by the style, and then I just looked it up, and I was like, oh, that's like really cool concept. So like that's as far as I'm trying to keep it. Like it's a cool concept. I know the general what you're gonna do, and then I'm excited to actually like dive in and actually like beat the shit out of it.
It's a weird one.
Have you played it?
That looks cool.
Yeah, I've only played it like once, and then I failed, and then I was just like, that's odd.
Wait, you played it once and failed?
Yeah.
Like you failed, or like the game was like game over, please restart game?
The game told me, please restart game, yeah.
Wait, you're serious?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm pretty excited.
I failed the game.
Maybe I'll boot this thing up quicker. This is interesting.
Just reminds me of L.A. Noire, and like when it first came out, and I didn't know that you can literally get all the wrong answers for everything in that game, and you can still beat it. I didn't know that. So like when I was playing through it the first time, I felt like so much pressure on myself to get every detail of every like case correct, because like that first fucking thing that you do where you have to interrogate the guy, and if you don't do it right, you like leave the interrogation room, and your chief walks up to you and he's like, "You get your ass back in there and you give me the information we need," or some shit like that. And I was like, because like I failed the interrogation the first time because I wasn't like sure what I was supposed to be looking for, and I was like, "What? This game's fucking hard," and so I had so much pressure to like do everything 100% correct, and I just like got halfway through the game and I was just burnt out because it was just too stressful to play the stupid game. I wish I'd known that I could just like get everything wrong and you could still get through it.
It was actually horrible because like we had a Let's Play series, or just sort of like a Let's Play comedy series on L.A. Noire, and like I know that like in the background, like I think we beat the whole game, not the DLC, or maybe including the DLC, but not all of it or something. But we definitely hit credits, and I don't think all the videos are up like all the way through credits, but there's a bunch of videos up from it, and that scene you're talking about is ingrained in my head. You get back in there, boyo, and give me some goddamn answers, or whatever the hell he says. Like he's so pissed, and I think I spent like an hour editing that part where I kept just being like, "All right, we're gonna do this properly," and like Cole Phelps opens the door. And then just I immediately cut back. You get back in there, boyo! Like we had already failed it again. So yeah, what a ridiculous.
That took you a while to get through.
That one was, and then was horrible. Is like what you're saying, Tim, is the wrong answers. So I think this was DLC. That's why I even mentioned it. I think this was a DLC case. I think it was an arson DLC case. I didn't know what to do. Like I think we had either taken a break for a week or something, or like I didn't pay attention enough to the case, and I just went on like my gut feeling. I was like, detectives do this all the time, and I just sent the wrong person to jail like 100%. And like the DA person was like, "Well, bit of a weird choice, but I'm sure we'll have enough to book them." And I was like, "Wait a second, that doesn't sound like that's the right person." And I looked it up later, and I was like, "Oh shit." So you know,
I would desperately love an LA Noire 2 or something. Man,
I don't know. I really like the characters and stuff. I never actually got through the whole game. I really should go back and play it again.
it's funny. It has one of those things where you remember it differently. I remember the world being a
Yeah.
lot more interesting.
Yeah.
But going back, it's just empty.
The world's
There's
so
nothing
boring.
to do
Yeah.
anywhere.
No. I mean, we're spoiled now, right? With big
Yeah.
open world games that have lots to do everywhere.
Yeah.
I remember our buddy Nate. He's a big GTA fan, so as a result, a big Rockstar fan. Loves Red Dead as well. And LA Noire comes out. He's hot off the heels of GTA 4, which I think he was still playing at the time. He just loved driving around and like free roaming online and stuff. And his story of LA Noire was amazing. He kept telling me about it, hyping me up, and I was like, I don't know, man. Like back then, I was just like a Halo player in COD, so I was like, I don't know, man. Like I don't really want to play it. And he buys it, and I just hear nothing about it. Like I see him play it one day on 360, and I never hear about it. I never see him play it again. A couple weeks later, I'm online. I talk to him, and I'm like, "Hey, man, like what happened with LA Noire?" He's like, "This is the exact thing that happened." He's like, "I went through a half hour of cutscenes, one interview, and then I was supposed to go and talk to somebody or interrogate them at their house." And he's like, "I thought, oh great, I'm gonna have like a big driving moment." And he's like, "I whipped around a corner." Smashed into the back of a car. His axle popped out. Both my tires got popped, and we went out. And he's like, we basically exchanged insurance, and then I deleted it off my hard drive. And I was like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
not for the GTA fans, I guess.
No, I love the because the cars are so like heavy, right? Because it's supposed to be like period accurate, in like the 1940s, and 50s. I love the clips. I can't remember exactly who put them together, but like on YouTube, I think it was maybe one of the videos was like a Manslayer video, and he's playing LA Noire, and like he gets in a head-on collision, and the car goes like the back end just goes straight up in the air, and then it lands again, and he just gets out of the car like normal, and the lady gets out of her car, and she's like, "You better bet you're paying for that," or something like that. It's like you've just seen the most ridiculous thing happen to your car, and a cop gets out of the other vehicle, and you're just like. All right, this is a casual exchange of our personal information right now, and who's your insurance with? Like,
Christ.
What's new with you, Tim?
nothing really, to be honest. I've just pretty much been playing the same three things. I'm almost done Yakuza Like a Dragon. Surprising amount of grinding that you have to do in the game, more than I was expecting, but it's like I guess pretty typical for the JRPG genre. And I'm like 100%. I'm a completionist when it comes to like open world games, right? Like I like to do all the side stuff before moving on every time, and like the main story and things. I do all the side stories, I do all the optional stuff. And usually in like most mainstream games in like RPG genre, that sets you up to just be like really overpowered. But I guess they kind of expect you to do that in this game because I'm like doing main story missions and stuff, and I'm doing fights, and I'm like, man, this fight is really fucking hard. Like, what is going on with this? And there's like one particular like character from the previous games that's like really fucking strong, and I'm doing this fight, and I'm like there was a part where I like lost the fight for the first time, and I was genuinely sitting there like, are you supposed to lose this fight? Like it feels like I can't keep up. He's doing so much damage. He can one shot my characters from like almost full health, so I have to spend my turn like reviving them, but then he just knocks them out again. So it was just like a losing battle because I'm running out of like revival items, and I can't do enough damage to him. And I was like, this must be like a scripted fight, right? Like you're supposed to lose this. And then one of the people that was like watching along while I was playing it was like, so I was like my characters were like level 46 or something like that, 47. And they looked it up and they were like, apparently the recommended level for this fight is 54. And I was like, holy fuck. Like I've done how much grinding off the side just for like items or equipment or money or whatever else, all the side missions, all the optional stuff. And I'm like 6 levels below what the main story is expecting me to be at. Like how much grinding was I supposed to do on top of what I've already done?
Jesus, eh?
But anyway, like I managed to actually beat the fight at that level, and it was fucking hard, but I managed to do it. And so I, continuing through the game a little bit further and getting into like another major fight, because I'm like towards the end of the game. I'm in like the last chapter now, so it's all just a bunch of boss fights basically, and I'm just doing boss fight after boss fight, and they're all like pretty hard because I'm definitely under leveled. But like pretty much anytime I have a spare hour or two, I'm just like off stream. I'm just like hopping onto the game to grind out a little bit more money or a little bit more experience or a couple more levels here and there, so that like the end isn't too bad, because I'm just fully expecting now that even with all the grinding that I'm going to do, I'm still going to be 10 levels lower than what the last fight is requiring. But anyway, it's a good game overall. I don't mind the grind because it's still fun every time. But aside from Yakuza, I'm also playing a lot of Sea of Thieves on stream with some friends from the UK, and that's been a blast because everyone's just kind of got like the same ideas of like what to do, and like we find the same things in that game fun. It's just a good game to kill a lot of time in. And
they have the English accents to match.
Yeah, that's right. Every pirate was English. Yeah. And aside from that, I've been sort of like off stream. I've been playing a decent amount of the Monster Hunter Rise demo on the Switch. I never really played the demos a whole lot in the past with like the 3DS games and stuff like that, just because I find fighting the same like 4 monsters over and over kind of boring, even if you do get to use different weapons and stuff. I know it sounds kind of like counterintuitive to the game, which is like what you're supposed to do is fight the same things over and over again to get, items and materials for gear and stuff. But I like I don't mind fighting the same monsters over and over again, as long as I get to fight, 5 different ones in between fighting the same one over and over again. And there's only, I think, 5 different monsters in the demo, which is more actually, I think, than previous demos I've had. I kind of have more fun just sort of roaming around and like using the updated movement system that they've added to the game. It's a little bit more like you can kind of Spider-Man your way around the map now, which is pretty cool and like definitely unprecedented for a Monster Hunter game of all things. But yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to the full game. It's a nice taste, but I can't just like sit and play the demo for hours. I maybe do like 45 minutes at a time. But then I do that maybe every day or every other day. So it's good. I'm really looking forward to March 26th when it comes out.
And this is a Yakuza question. So when you say you're grinding in Yakuza, like I understand this is a different formula, but to me, grinding in Yakuza from having played the other games is like I would have to wander around and fight the random gangs that would attack you. Are you is this game like tailored for grinding, or is it literally a bunch of that?
Yeah, you can do that. That's not the best way to do it though. Like, and previous Yakuza games have had it as well. Not that it was like the way that you would grind in those previous games, but the best way to grind in this game pretty much is to go to the like battle arenas, like the underground battle arenas, and pretty much just go through them over and over and over again.
Okay.
Because every time you like, at least from what I found anyway, I might be wrong, but there are like dungeons you can do as well. So like the dungeons are basically like the sewer areas in the different cities, but then there's also like underground fighting arenas that you can go to, and those are like wave based, whereas it's not like a dungeon crawl. And with that, you just the waves are faster and you get less experience for each wave, but it's still like a whole hell of a lot more than you would get for doing, like running around in the streets of whatever city and just fighting random encounters.
Okay. Cause like I like those other games, like I suppose you could grind your skill tree, but at the same time, because they were so story-based, you didn't really ever need to. Like, I never really felt the need to run around and fight those guys.
No,
so I guess, you know what I mean? Like and it sounds like this game's better equipped.
In the previous games, for sure, like I never ever had to grind at all, ever. I never had to. Like I'd found the combat and like the final fights and stuff like that in the previous games definitely a lot more, like a lot easier. I never had to. I don't think I ever had a playthrough of a previous Yakuza game myself, where when I was just like doing, my standard playthrough where I would play X amount of side stuff and then do the main story, never felt like I had to go and grind. But with this game, like I have actually felt like, dang, this fight is really hard. And if every boss fight from now on is just going to be like this, then yeah, I really need to go grind.
Out of the two, what do you prefer? What, like, in terms of formula?
Honestly, I thought that I wasn't gonna like this formula because I was so like attached to the other games that I was like, oh, I don't really like JRPGs. Like I haven't played, Persona or Final Fantasy and stuff like that with like the turn-based or pseudo turn-based party-based RPGs and stuff like that. But after playing it, I feel like it might honestly be a little difficult to go back to the old games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I still have Yakuza 0 installed, and I think I played it once since starting up this game, just to like go back and kind of compare. And like it was okay, but I don't think that I would necessarily like if I had to pick, I don't know, I'd probably have to go back and play like Kiwami 2 or Yakuza 6 or something, one of the previous series games, but in the same engine. Because 0 would be hard to compare, because as good a game as 0 is, like, it is a bit old now. It's a bit aged.
I guess I haven't played in the new engine then.
Yeah, Kiwami 2 and 6 are the ones that are in the same engine as Like a Dragon and Judgment.
Which? Oh, I forgot all about Judgment, too. I'm freaking behind here.
I haven't finished that game either. So after I play this one, I'm probably gonna, like, in my own time, I'm probably gonna go back and play through Judgment.
Because I played 0, like I played 4, 4, not 5, 0, a fair bit of Dead Souls, or what the hell it's called.
Oh god, yeah.
That game is just fun for like the stupidity and craziness of it.
I mean, you could say that about any Yakuza game, but yeah, that one is like a little bit more mindless than the other ones, for sure.
Yeah, it's just like you click an auto aim button and you just shoot.
Yeah.
You don't really do anything else.
Man, I remember playing that game at your place one time, and like the part that I played was a boss fight where that thing is like crawling all over the walls and stuff, and it was so like tedious and boring. Like all I did was stand in the center of the room with an Uzi and just shoot it when it came out of the walls. And it took like 15 minutes and it like never hit me. I was like, this fight fucking sucks. This is boring as hell.
That it was what was weird about that too was they could have had a zombie game just been like I don't know, I guess you would you'd use like martial arts like the other games. They could have just had like a special infected or something. Been like the equivalent, and then just had like, more intimate fights with like the 3 or 4 zombies rather than hordes of zombies, because you can't be fighting off hordes with martial arts. But it would have been way better to just have like the classic Yakuza play style, I think, with zombies, because like the story was cool, the quarantining was cool. It was like I actually enjoyed seeing like the world evolve a bit too. Like, you get pushed back to certain areas and stuff like that in the game. But like, Christ, was that game boring because of that. Like, every single time I left the city, I knew, and then like was given a gameplay moment, I knew it was just going to be like, I think it was like hold down L1 and press R1 or whatever to shoot, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty sad. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, Dead Souls is a great game. But like, if you're itching for more Yakuza characters and stuff like that, but just in a sort of a different format, I mean,
the story works.
It kind of scratches that itch a little bit. So,
what are you up to, Ryan?
First of all, we all beat Diablo 2.
Oh, that's right. Hell yeah, we did.
That was last week. Just last week we did that. That was a overstayed its welcome, but it did have the expansion on there, so it wasn't like the base game was overly long.
Well, let me ask you,
a short game when you actually like look at it.
in comparison to modern games, for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
The four acts, like I remember we started getting a little annoyed with the fifth act, which is Order of Destruction, which is the expansion. But like, I remember we were getting bored because of like the environments were getting really boring and stuff. But I feel I feel as though like that fifth act is for the people that would have been like, I need to play more, and so they just would grind. For us, where we were just like, let's effectively hit credits, let's beat the game. That just it wasn't built for us. Like it was built for the Diablo guys, because that Baal, like doing like killing Lord Baal or Baal or whatever his name is,
Baal,
like killing him. Those were called Baal runs back in the day, and like you would just do that to level your character, and you would do it on normal, then nightmare, and then hell, or you would like get speed run through it or whatever. Like I can't exactly remember the formula, but I like doing that like part where he laughs and summons people is like ingrained in my brain. Like I remember that exactly.
I don't know if our builds weren't correct or if we were doing something wrong, but the whole idea of just like spamming your health potions is really bad. Now, of course, I imagine you can get super technical with this game. You can find the best armor and the best stats or whatever else and make a killer build. But for me, it was just like I was blasting through health potions, and if I didn't, I would be dead every single time.
I remember when we played, like I used to play it religiously online, and when we played, like I played what I used to play was a Trap Sin, which was a trap assassin expansion character, I believe too. But I used to play as a Hammer Paladin, or an Ice Sorceress as well. And each of those builds / characters was sort of designed for farming in a specific way. Like my sorceress could teleport around the map to find certain boss rooms to then kill that boss to see if he dropped an item and then effectively go kill more bosses or exit and restart to go kill that boss again. And you would just do that all day to farm like a certain item that you wanted. Mm-hmm. And I did find that like Diablo fell into the trap that a fair bit of MMOs falls into, which is you need to make money, you need to make items or whatever it is. So what you do is you make a character which saves up money and resources to make another character which can save up money faster than your previous character so that you can make another character. Like it's just that loop. And Diablo, like that's why we had so many characters, because my Trap Sin was good at this. My Ice Sorceress was good at this. So spamming potions is just really a part of it, but it's also the gameplay. Like in Fallout 76, not to bring that up again, but in Fallout 76, like I have like no health. So there are some fights where I'm going to die because I'm a bloodied build. Now, yes, I can wear my power armor and stuff like that, and I should be prepared. But I need to prepare for those fights now. Like you're not playing when you play at the level of technicality that I've reached anyway in Fallout 76, and that I did reach in Diablo 2 back in the day. You are no longer playing the game normally. So I think we were playing it normally, if that makes sense.
I suppose, yeah. But we're going to be starting up Diablo 3 tonight, which I'm pretty excited for. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a big jump in terms of modern gameplay.
It's like more than 10 years later that it came out.
I just thought of something though. Can I play I bought the Necromancer expansion. Can I play as that even if you guys don't own the Necromancer?
Believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Because I definitely don't own it.
And I also just been playing Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is a really great game. Other than that, I preloaded the Medium on my Xbox Series X. It'll be the first game I guess first new game I actually attempt to play on there.
What is that?
The Medium? It's I can't remember where it's shown off. But you kind of play like an actual medium, like someone who can see like ghosts and whatnot, or talk to the use their psychic abilities to uncover secrets apparently. And there's like two different worlds. You can kind of switch between worlds, I guess. One's kind of like real life and one's some sort of spirit realm or something like that.
And is this a horror game?
Yeah, and that's where I might not actually finish it. That's why I said it will be the first one I attempt.
Didn't you start 0 though? Yakuza 0?
Yeah, that kind of fell off. I'm not sure if I like the gameplay in it. It felt very kind of loose and odd.
If anything, I wouldn't say it's loose, but odd, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to describe it. Just like the punches didn't feel like it were impacting. I just kind of felt like I was swinging the air and stuff. It was just a bit strange.
When you're like starting out, like at least from my perspective, I think there's a very good sense of like power crawl in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime you get an upgrade or a new ability or whatever, it really feels like it does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to it. I'll keep it installed, just in case I get the inspiration to go back. I do want to get into that series, though. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes games take me a couple tries, so we'll see. Particularly old ones. I'm not traditionally a person who plays older games like that.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Future Matt here, just editing the episode, and I just want to interrupt before we get into this first story. This first story is about Microsoft's Xbox Live Gold price changes, and right after we recorded this, Microsoft actually took that change back. So I'm going to put a link to what Microsoft said in the show notes if you care to read that. However, I'll just read the last paragraph of the updated article here. If you're an Xbox Live Gold member already, you stay at your current price for renewal. New and existing members can continue to enjoy Xbox Live Gold for the same prices that they pay today. In the US, $9.99 for 1 month, $24.99 for 3 months, $39.99 for 6 months, and $59.99 for retail 12 months. So just a little heads up that this has been a change, but the conversation we had around this topic, of course, was good. So enjoy the rest of the episode.
All right, let's hop into the stories for this week. First up is Microsoft is increasing the price of Xbox Live Gold. This comes from IGN. According to Microsoft, this is taking place in order to evaluate the current value and pricing of the services provided. As a result, Live Gold is going to jump in price. However, if you're an existing Live Gold 6-month or 12-month member, the price will continue to renew at the old price of $9.99 per month or $24.99 for 3 months. For those who don't fall in this bracket, a 1-month membership will now cost $10.99, 3 months is $29.99, and 6 months is $59.99. Now, these are American prices. Just keep that in mind. This means that the price of a 1-month membership has increased by $1, while the price of the 3 months is now $5. Increased by $5. Now, Matt, I think Tim. You don't have gold, right? Because you don't have an Xbox, right?
No, I have Game Pass. Don't have gold.
Matt, I believe you have Game Pass Ultimate.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if that actually affects that price. I don't think it does.
I was going to say that this sounds like a sales tactic to push people toward Game Pass / Game Pass Ultimate.
That's a lot of what I'm seeing, is that it's trying to get people away from just having a gold subscription.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if they actually retire. So you have Game Pass, and then you got Game Pass Ultimate, and then there's also Game Pass PC.
Right.
Now, I can see them having Game Pass become like you can only play on one. And then Ultimate is you can play on everything, you get Xbox Live. And what I mean by that is like they might, to me, be consolidating the brand where they have Game Pass and the Game Pass PC. I think like they'll probably just call one Game Pass, call the next one Game Pass Ultimate, and then you just get to choose which one you're. So like effectively it's the same, but the branding's going to change. And then with branding changes, you're going to see price changes usually. Because, I mean, I'm a bad example probably for this, because when Microsoft releases a subscription, I more or less buy it. Like my entire business runs off of Microsoft too.
Right.
I have Microsoft 365 for business, all that stuff. I use Teams. I use OneDrive. I use OneDrive for business. I use Office, all that stuff. Office Online as well, even. As limited or whatever as some people say it is, I still use it. Like I use everything Microsoft. Fully into the Microsoft ecosystem, clearly. All my computers are Windows for the most part. I think I have like an old Chromebook for work somewhere. But that's sort of where I stand. So to me, like this is something that just doesn't matter to me. You know, not to like talk down to somebody who like doesn't want to pay this extra price. But like to me, it's just doesn't matter to me, because like I'm just gonna, if they told me that my Xbox Live or my Xbox Game Pass Ultimate was going up by $5 a month, I would just say, okay, that wouldn't change. Just because I have so much like stuff with them. But
it's also go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, but I can see how people feel cheated with Xbox Live Gold being probably the least fully featured thing they offer, being priced at such a steep price.
Well, yeah, that's the funny part, right? Is that I think people would be perfectly fine if Game Pass went up because it's such a good deal already.
Yeah.
But here it's just like, oh, you're just paying to play online.
Well, you get the games too. Like that is a big piece. Like you do get, like I have hundreds of games that I've just claimed.
Right.
And it's to the point where I've probably purchased games because I wanted to play them and not realizing I had them on Xbox Live for Gold, or whatever you call them, like the free Xbox Live Gold games.
Now this does come after they also got rid of the 12-month membership. Remember that?
I do, yeah. I don't know if that came with a price increase.
But so, well, it kind of did because a 6-month subscription is now $59.99. So if you're going for the full year, it's now $120, right? Whereas like PlayStation Plus, I think it's like, what is it, 60 or 70 American?
Like $120 a year does sound like a lot. Now, it is cheaper than World of Warcraft. You are getting free games. You're getting access, I suppose, at this point on 3-ish consoles. And potentially 3 actual consoles because you can play Xbox games. So you play like Xbox Series XS games, Xbox One games, and Xbox 360 games, and Xbox original games. Now, I would assume the original servers are all gone. I don't know for sure, but the 360 games I think still have some servers there. So maybe like it's because you're getting so much, because you are getting a 360 game, I believe, still per month. Like you are getting 3 games
compared to PlayStation Plus though, where you also get 3 games if you have a PS5. It's only $70 a month or a year.
Well, this actually, and like this might seem unrelated, but this might actually be speaking toward consolidation or streamlining, which sometimes does come with price increases, and I'll explain that. So, for example, it can be argued that something, let's take it like still in tech but unrelated, like the Galaxy S21 Ultra, right? Mm-hmm. Got rid of the micro SD card slot. I believe that's what the thing's called. Whatever, the S, I think it is S21 Ultra, right?
They got rid of the expansion, yeah.
Right, okay. No, I just couldn't remember if that was the name of the phone or whether I missed, or whether it was actually
Galaxy
the S20.
S21 Ultra.
S21 Ultra, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Too many damn phones, too many damn numbers.
I think it's going by year now. I think that's why they jumped to 20, right?
I don't know. That's
okay.
That's why I asked. So anyway, so the S21 Ultra, they got rid of the expansion, the SD extension, and like people might, or micro SD, whatever, and people might be like freaking out about that. But it's a part of it becoming consolidated, because on my phone's generation, Note 10 Plus, they started advertising it like you can have laptop level storage. You can get like a terabyte or more. My base model was 256 gig or more. I think it was 256 or 512 or something like that. But like, that's a fucking lot of storage coming from, I went from the S8 Plus, which was 32 gigabyte. In this particular case, bringing it back to gaming, this might be in the name of consolidating as well, where yes, you have these people that are playing Xbox games, but they're trying to force you onto Xbox Game Pass, even if you're not a PC person, right? So if
Game
you want
Pass Ultimate in particular,
right? But then they're trying to get you into Ultimate, because then you might be like, hey, I have a PC, I can play some of these things, because even the most basic of like office computers can play some indie titles, some like smaller titles, side scrollers, what have you. Or it might even push you to go into gaming. So I think they're trying to consolidate. It's sort of a similar situation with Microsoft itself when they went from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, which makes a lot of sense because Microsoft 365 / Office 365 was offering much more than just Office. And the brand was messing with it because it was like, hey, like, I just want Word. And the people were like, we have to buy Office 365. And there's other perpetual licenses, whatever. But in general, it's like, buy Office 365. But then some people will be like, well, I want OneDrive storage. And then it's like, oh, buy Office. And then they're like, well, I don't want Word. You know what I mean? Because the consolidation was there, but the branding wasn't quite there. So that's why I think they're gonna try to kill Xbox Live Gold, and they may just give us a more streamlined package of Xbox Game Pass, and then you choose which Game Pass it is underneath it, but it's under the helm of Game Pass. And then Game Pass Ultimate is play online and play all games everywhere, consolidated. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's the case too. Now, whether they actually get rid of gold or not, or maybe they're just trying to make Game Pass Ultimate look more appetizing, by making gold look less appetizing. I don't know, but there's definitely a strategy there. I don't think they're just doing this, right? So.
Well, this sucks too, because I will say that as a person that grew up playing the 360 more so, because that was when we started playing online, and as a kid, I would save up and then buy. Because I don't know, I think we were 12 when the thing came out. So I would save up and buy the Xbox Live Gold card. So, and I wouldn't, as a kid, even be interested in Game Pass, because I would be interested in Game Pass, but I wouldn't be, because I would be like, oh, I have to pay for that per month. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep that up. Which is why I would buy the 1 year card or ask for it for Christmas or what have you as a kid. Now, I realize that the situation's different now, where a lot of parents will even load a credit card onto a kid's smartphone or tablet. So maybe our whatever money spending back then was is being antiquated, but still.
Yeah, and if my parents had done that back when I was playing 360 and stuff, and DLC started to become a thing, and I just started buying things for games that was using their credit card, man, I would have been in so much trouble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've never, whether it's our upbringing or our generation or I don't know, whatever, but it's interesting to see kids be like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy gems for this. And I always thought to myself, even back, because gems and microtransactions were coming up when we were coming up and growing up. And to me, that was so foreign of a topic. It was always buy Xbox Live Gold, then buy Xbox Game, and then play Xbox Game. Mm-hmm. Because it was it's the effectively one-off purchases, or one-off for a long time purchases.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The idea of DLC when it first started to come out, horse armor and the magic books and stuff like that in Oblivion, I was like, why? Why would I buy this? I bought the game. It should be complete when I buy it. Kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
Which is just not a concept that will even land anymore, because people have proven that they will just buy, they'll buy a game and they will continue to pay for it and pay for it and pay for it and pay for it.
And I would love to see, because we're talking about some kids that have iPads that their parents have their whatever on there, their payment
Google
information
Store,
on there.
yeah, or the
but I actually want to know how many, what's the norm now? So if our generation, because our generation would be the one generally that would be having kids. So if our generation has kids, you take a sample of those, and the kid has an Xbox One or Xbox whatever, or something that can take advantage of Game Pass. Do the parents just buy Game Pass? I mean, financially, that probably makes sense.
If they understand the concept of Game Pass, yeah, probably.
That financially makes sense, because it's the App Store, unlimited games, they change all the time. Kid keeps playing them. All his friends have Game Pass probably as too. Right. Now they can all play together. There's no BS. Sure. But I don't know whether I don't know whether it's fear or what it is of recurring payments would scare parents of our age off, like it did parents of our parents' age.
Yeah, it's something interesting. I don't know. I think it's just that the industry standard has changed, and people who were making those purchases, like our parents, for example, that aren't involved in the industry, don't really understand it. It's an outside perspective. Whereas I think now, parents are more kind of plugged into the infrastructure. And they're more educated. It's not like kids trying to, convince their parents of whatever when they're the ones that understand it, but their parents don't, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Well, you're right on one way, because like and like Ryan can comment on this too, because Adriano's not here a bit, but like Adriano has told us a few times that his like one of his family members, not giving away names, but one of his family members, they have like a kid in the kid games, and the kid like doesn't have his own account on everything. The kid doesn't have his own email. The kid doesn't have whatever. They're like, sometimes it's the parents' email, sometimes it's some random email that the parents made up, whatever. Whereas I think parents of like our age would be like, no, like you need a persona online because it's going to carry with you for life. And Adriano's tried to convince them of that and said, sure, put parental controls on there and have access to his account. Don't let him email stuff, whatever. Fine. Totally. Right. Depending on age, that's fine. But he needs that persona, because moving forward, his assets are acquired and are accruing digitally. Because like, like instead of him having to repurchase Minecraft or something in the future, he can have the original Minecraft license from when he was 12, when he grows up to whatever age. I don't know. I'm just making up ages, but like,
yeah, sure.
Like that just makes sense. Like I'm still using the original Minecraft license that I bought in the beginning of college because I know the account information.
I used to use my sister's iTunes account for all my iTunes purchases, and that was like songs and movies and TV shows and stuff. And like my whole family kind of just used it because I don't know why. It's just kind of what happened. Mm-hmm. And when I finally got, I think it was like near the end of high school, I started my own account and stuff, and I had to rebuy a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
and that's what you should be trying to avoid, right? Like in your case. Right. In our case, we saw the rise of that stuff. So that was inevitable. But now it's like, let's not repeat those mistakes,
Yeah. Alrighty, let's move on here to our next story. Apple's first headset, particularly a VR headset, to be a niche precursor and then to eventually be an AR, some sort of glasses type of deal. This comes from Bloomberg. As a mostly virtual reality device, it will display an all-encompassing 3D digital environment for gaming, watching video, and communicating. AR functionality, the ability to overlay images and information over a view of the real world, will be more limited. Apple has planned to launch the product as soon as 2022, going up against Facebook's Oculus, Sony's PlayStation VR, and headsets from HTC. Apple isn't looking to create an iPhone-like hit for its first headset. Instead, the company is building a high-end niche product that will prepare outside developers and consumers for its eventual more mainstream AR glasses. Matt, do you remember the Google glasses?
Yep.
They went nowhere, right?
I think those were clearly like prototype / consumer. You know what I mean?
They
like
sold them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they sold it, but it was like the first Samsung watch, or the first Galaxy Fold. The first Galaxy Fold's a better example, more recent example. That was clearly like almost an engineering prototype.
That first one's kind of gross. I haven't actually used it, but just looking at the reviews and stuff, it looked pretty. It did look like a prototype version.
But now it's viable. Like I could buy a folding phone as my next phone. They're now viable.
The plan suggests that Apple's first headset will be far more expensive than those from its rivals, which cost around $300 to $900. Some Apple insiders believe the company may sell only one headset per day per retail store. I don't know how you calculate that kind of stuff, but even this seems high to me. Apple has roughly 500 stores, so in that scenario, annual sales would be just over 180,000 units. If this is supposed to be some super expensive thing, I feel like that's a lot of units.
Mm-hmm. Not for Apple though. It's all relative, right?
Yeah. What's your guys' experience with VR?
It makes me sick.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Jesus.
Yeah, I get motion sick.
Oh fuck! I didn't realize it would affect that too.
But where are you guys feeling where the future of VR is? If you can't use it, I guess. I mean.
So the thing for me, right, and the reason that I think a lot of people have to deal with motion sickness is because it's something in your brain that's anticipating movement one way, and it's either it goes another way or it's just slightly desynced kind of thing, right? So in my case, I think the thing with VR is the desync is what makes me nauseous, which is probably. The good news there is that as technology advances, the latency for these things is going to get lower and lower. there's still hope that potentially, I might be able to play things in VR someday because the latency will be so low that there won't be that disconnect for me anymore, and it'll be more comfortable to play.
It's not a frame rate issue with you then? It's like because I remember in the early days of VR, they were trying to get the frame rate up because that was causing most of people's problems.
I don't think it's a frame rate issue, because like the worst offender for me was Skyrim when I tried to play it. I can play things that you're not like your environment isn't moving, like like keep talking and nobody explodes. But for the ones that are like, riding on roller coasters or going along like a rail shooter or, even things like Beat Saber, I can play them for like 45 minutes, but then I have to take a break because it's like, it starts to toe that line of being too much.
What do you think it would take? Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, that's unfortunate because like, what type of headset? I don't know if you said that. What type of headset did you try?
PSVR mostly.
Okay. Because I know for sure that I used to get motion sickness as a kid. I don't anymore, but I do have like, if things are like really, and this isn't like a medical thing, this is just in general, but if things are like really laggy on a screen, I can like, or like really weird in refresh rate, I get sick. Like I actually threw up during a 360 game.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, and I tried when Oculus was in a dev engineering forum. I went to like this conference during college, and I tried the Oculus Dev 1, and I could feel my eyes and like a part of my head hurting. It wasn't like a traditional headache. It was like, what the fuck is going on? Like I felt weird. But when I tried the Vive with the whole room set up, I didn't have any problems. And I was trying it with a bunch of people, and they got sick quick. And I was in it almost all day, all afternoon.
Ugh.
I was just fine. Like it didn't bother me. I only started like my eyes started getting kind of tired. That was it. So I was just wondering whether like you had tried one that was like 30 FPS, although I don't know what PSVR is.
That's a good question.
I can't imagine it's very high though.
Well, it could be like 720p 60, but that might be too little. I don't know much about VR, obviously, but
I think I don't know that the resolution is super high. It's not something I've really looked into because obviously I don't have much of a vested interest in it right now.
PSVR, just on the quick Google search here, resolution is 1920 by 1080.
Okay.
Display size is 5.7 inches. I don't see refresh rate here. This is actually on Sony's website.
So maybe it's...
Oh, wait, there we go. 120 and 90.
Yeah,
so like
I was going to say, because for things like Beat Saber, like the frame rate is definitely at least 60.
Maybe it has to be. Like, you said 120 refresh or 90, so probably variable refresh, I'm guessing, and then...
Well, they just list the two, so I wonder if it's just depending, like the game's can output at 90 or 120.
Right, okay. So maybe it has to be above 60 for you to feel normal. Because your eyes render in God knows what it is, but...
Has anyone ever done that? Have we done a research into like what resolution the human eye sees in?
I don't know why that creeps me out, but it does.
It's difficult to calculate because our vision's not a rectangle.
Yeah,
right. It's more of a big oval kind of shape.
What pixels do we see?
Yeah.
How many pixels?
I mean, you could kind of just say like, oh, if it's if you take a look at your phone, get the pixel density of your phone. Hold it at a point where you can't see pixels, which is pretty much anywhere now with modern phones.
Yeah.
And then multiply the amount of phones in your vision that you could fit.
Oh.
There you go.
And then just do the math.
Yeah. I'm interested in VR. I've never actually tried it. I've tried the goofy phone VR things, but those are definitely not any good quality. I would definitely like to get into it.
Specifically for gaming?
Sick, though. Yeah.
Interesting.
Why? What's wrong with that?
No, I was just wondering whether you'd be more interested in, because Apple's going into AR as per the story. I was just wondering like what.
Well, this is a VR headset with AR elements. It sounds like the AR is like kind of taking a backseat with this one, which is kind of odd, I guess. If it's going to be more than $1,000, I probably won't get this.
It's
Which
hard to
sounds like
justify
it's
that
going to
price
be-
for a novelty.
Yeah. And what's weird about that is like usually you want it to get into as many hands as possible, so devs have a reason to develop for it, right?
hmm
So I don't know. I don't. All these companies seem to think that VR and AR are massive, but I don't know if they are.
I think, and I'm
I
not
think
a
they're here to
doctor.
stay, but I don't know if they're gonna stay forever.
Well, like, would you think that this might be a new these type of technologies are going to be used in the medical field?
I mean, they said the same thing about the Kinect, and then that went away.
The tech is still there, though.
Maybe for training purposes, but I don't see how you. I don't know.
I think it's more so trying to make tech interface with us in a way that is not intrusive or not without us doing something that is more natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like being in a room without anything connected to us is what the Kinect is there for. It was supposed to read our inputs via our gestures and then do stuff, right? Whereas like VR, AR, that could end up being like the cure for blindness. If they figure out how to get that plugged into your brain, then you might be seeing AR, but you could be realistically seeing through like a camera that's strapped to your face.
Right.
Like that, I think that, and then there'll be novelty things too, like us having like AR glasses instead of like full desk setups and stuff like that with like virtual AR or whatever or mixed reality that Windows has or Microsoft has.
I just don't see the there's like Half-Life Alyx, there's like Beat Saber and like a handful of other titles, but is that enough to warrant, getting like really investing in this kind of stuff?
I think you're investing in something that may, and God knows whether it will make it. It may become the new PC. Like think about like the idea of the personal computer has been virtually the same until like smartphones came out, but PCs are still around. Like I'm using a big tower right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like the idea of a PC hasn't changed much. Different form factors, laptops, whatever you want to say, fine. Then it went into our computer, or then it went into our pocket, with like PDAs and stuff like that. And then finally, in its sort of quote unquote almost final or very advanced form, smartphones. Now it's about getting the bandwidth of you picking up a smartphone and using it to be less and more natural. So for it to show up in your eyes. So the same thing could be said about gaming, where gaming has been the same. You have a controller. Whether it's a digital controller on glass or a real controller, it's exactly the same concept. There's buttons or fake buttons, or digital buttons, whatever you want to call them, and then you interact with them. If you were interested in VR, like it's almost philosophical in a way, AR, whatever, but that is kind of where tech is going. Like going to like getting rid of billboards where you glue those massive posters on them and they just become AR. That's like the beginning.
You see that happening?
Well, Hamilton has 2 huge screen ones. I think
screens make sense, but you would need everyone to have AR glasses on.
Yeah, but everyone
that be viable.
Currently, everyone has a smartphone almost, and currently that's expected for most jobs. It's expected for a lot of. I've been trying to like sign up a family member for a few services, and they need a mobile phone number, and then they text. They're like, "We texted you," and I used a home phone number because they don't have a cell phone. Like the smartphone is like being so injected as like a tool that we all have, that like this could be the next thing. So then that would naturally take over games, but not in 10 years. Like maybe an hour-old age.
I mean, it's hard to predict the future. But I don't see it happening to any great degree.
It's a massive saving of resources. I'm looking at a monitor that's made of plastic, metal, and everything else, but I could be not looking at that, and I could just have my eyes render a monitor in front of me.
It seems a little too sci-fi to me.
But that is probably where we're going to go.
Yeah, like I don't know, the more that we like advance further through time, the more that technology from Star Trek seems to become a real thing.
Yeah.
Like the whole tablets and everything. Like, nobody thought that the, technology of tablets was going to become a real thing, and now it's almost like a everyday thing.
Yeah, we don't, no one has movie collections anymore. We just stream them, I'm
not saying it's not going to happen. I just doubt it.
Are you all about, I'm all about getting chips and stuff in me. I'm all about it.
I'd have no problem with it.
I don't think I'd be the first, possibly due to being a coward, but if my eyes started to fail at an older age, if I started having eyesight problems and I was given the options glasses or we can put Samsung eyes in you, I'd probably be like, fuck yeah, do it. Put the Samsung eyes in me.
Yeah, I would too.
I'm all about that stuff, and I think that's because then you could just be like right now we've got the bandwidth of playing a game down from, and consoles are still there, just like the PC, consoles are still there, but we got the streaming now, then we got the streaming to the phone as well, so now the bandwidth is getting less and less and less and less and less. Now if you can just appear on your face, and you can just play a game on a virtual TV in front of your face without you doing anything, right? That's probably where it's going. Everything's about getting it down to be more efficient. Right now, VR is just for fun. You're saying Beat Saber is fun, but what's the point? The point is they're fucking with the tech.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying there's only a handful of games I can name that are kind of successful in the VR space, and it's not like major studios and publishers are pumping out VR games every month.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not happening, and
it does still feel gimmicky.
When does that happen? And I'm not sure when that will occur. As far as I can tell, the Oculus is a pretty good headset, but it's still not enough to make these big developers switch over to it for whatever reason.
Yeah, nobody wants to the proof of concept hasn't been proven yet, right? Nobody's made gangbusters in money off of VR yet, so no one's willing to make that investment. Even PlayStation, who has a dedicated piece of hardware for VR, it's not fully invested in it.
Yeah,
it's not a focus. That's for sure.
Apple has shifted industries, but if this thing's going to be super expensive and niche, that ain't going to help.
Although if it is super expensive and niche, then it gets into the hands of the people who can afford it and who are interested in that niche, and then if it turns out to be good enough, then maybe those upper class people will reinvest into it.
But wouldn't they already be doing that on the current VR headsets?
Not if it's not good enough. Because, it's still kind of consumer grade technology.
Right.
Tim makes a good point is it's going to get into the hands of a niche, but you know what it's going to get into the hands of is it's going to get into the hands of the influencer. Products oftentimes sell us something. A car commercial is never about look at the engine. A car commercial is those who dare buy a Cadillac or whatever the fuck.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then they show people doing daring things or whatever. I'm making it up. But with something like this, they're saying this is a VR headset, but you can see the real world, the ability to overlay images, whatever. I could see if you're a person that lives in the city and you have a really small apartment and you don't have the ability to have a big home theater, but you really like movies, this might be the thing. You don't buy a TV, you don't buy any of that. You connect your iPhone to it or however this will work, and you have a full home theater in VR AR on your head. You just put a helmet on.
But what I'm saying though, can't they do that now? Wouldn't they be doing that now?
There's no focus on it. You need somebody to push it, and Apple might be the one because Apple has so much money it doesn't matter to them.
Well, it will be exciting to see what they can do. I don't think I have it in this thing, but they were talking about some of the prototypes they're working on that has a fan on it. They actually reduced the distance between the display and the eyes because it was just too big. And so now people with glasses can't wear it, and they have a prescription lens you can put in there. Sounding pretty crazy. And the other interesting thing is the chip they're going to put on it is apparently going to be better than their M1 processors, which are currently on their new MacBooks and MacBook Pros.
They would need to. Like, this is
Yeah.
because you're going to have to detect every time I like tilt my head. Is the whole world going to start spinning? Like,
This sounds like it's self-contained, because I think in the article they talked about how they were trying to stream it from another source, but just found it was better to have it all on the unit itself.
You know what?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. 2022 is the predicted date here.
You know, this might be like, this is super exciting. Like, I'm not one to get excited over Apple products, so this is actually really exciting.
All right. Do we want to move on, or do we want to just kind of chit chat until Tim gets back?
Well, I actually have a question for you, Ryan.
Sure.
If not the Google Glass, but something similar, so like an actual full AR glasses solution where I don't care about semantics, whether they're sunglasses or regular glasses where they're just glass, because you don't wear prescription glasses is what I mean.
Right.
Would you use that over your phone if it was good?
It's still hard to imagine, right? Because like the phone is still, even though it's a touchscreen, it's still tactile in some way, right? How do I access menus with a pair of glasses on? How do I text someone? I don't always want to use my voice. Like, right, like I could use my voice to send messages using Siri or whatever. I just don't, because I just find it easier to text with my fingers.
With your brain waves.
I mean, maybe with Elon Musk's implant, yeah.
It's an Elon Musk.
That's really good, actually. I really like that.
It's hard to imagine and then make a decision. You know,
I would say that this is like, speaking of Elon, actually, Elon said that like we're already cyborgs because our phone is like a piece of us, but the bandwidth is bad because we have to pick it up, use our eyes, and then tap with our fingers. I think like AR glasses and stuff like that, and eventually if it does plug into your brain in some capacity, is the future. It lowers the bandwidth. And then eventually we'll start replacing our actual body parts.
You know, it is funny. I remember this was a line from I think it was Mass Effect 3, where there's like a whole species of just robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about how human language is such a slow method of communication. I have to speak the entire sentence or paragraph or whatever I'm saying to transmit that information to you. But if we were two computers, the idea and concept could be transferred instantly, and you would immediately understand.
Yeah.
So human communication is even slow in today's world. You know,
fascinating.
Yeah,
honestly.
So if you combine that with having to type out your text before sending it, it's even more, right?
And like it comes down to that thought thing where it's like we're in the middle of a show. So if I'm like, hey, how is my like, I don't know, how is who's not here? How is Adriano doing? So I like, you know, if I want to figure out how Adriano's doing, I have to like pick up the phone, unlock it, go to the texting app, text him, how are you doing? Press enter, go ahead. But we're in the middle of a show here, so like, you know, that's distracting, whatever. But if I could just quickly send that off with my brain without picking anything up, that's a huge jump in bandwidth.
Well, it could be exciting times for the future. I hope we'll be able to see it. It does sound like it's pretty crazy. Most predictions tend to be too short. They're like, this will happen in the next 20 years, and then it will take like 70. So
yeah, that's fair.
In the year 2000, we'll have flying cars.
Yeah. Although they had flying cars at CES this year.
Yeah, they did.
And I do submit to you that we technically already have flying cars. We just don't envision them that way.
They're called airplanes.
Yeah.
No, helicopters.
Helicopters too, yeah.
Helicopters literally do what a flying car would do. It's just that we all don't have
that helicopter song.
Yeah, we just all don't have our own personal ones. That's the only difference.
I mean, speak for yourself.
Oh, you got a whole fleet, eh?
Yeah, whole fleet. Put that on my Twitter fleets.
Fuck.
All right, let's move on to our next story here. Blizzard is absorbing an Activision studio after dismantling their classic games team. This comes from Bloomberg. So the studio is known as Vicarious Visions. They've been a subsidiary of Activision since 2005 and worked on the franchises like Skylanders, Crash Bandicoot, and Tony Hawk. It will now focus entirely on Blizzard's franchises, including Diablo, instead of making its own games. I find that kind of odd. they had the studio kind of doing its own thing, and now they're just going to say, "Oh, work on our other games."
They might be getting. We might be seeing their deadlines slip. They need
for new titles, or you mean the Blizzard titles?
Well, yeah, they might be seeing like internal deadlines slip on things like Overwatch and stuff, and they might like Overwatch 2, and they might be like, okay, we need more devs.
So in recent years, Activision publishing arm has taken a stronger hand in Blizzard's operations. Vicarious Visions, based in Albany, New York, has been working with Blizzard since last year on the Diablo franchise, including a planned remake of Diablo 2. So there's that remake we were talking about.
Wouldn't that be great? Just jump right back into it.
I mean, I'd probably buy it. I know you guys. I think Adriano said he's not going to.
I might, to be honest. Like, if it's going to be like 3, even though we just like finished playing through it, I don't feel like it was kind of a rushed playthrough. You know, like we just did it as fast as we could, pretty much. Like if I could slow down and if I could like talk to every NPC and get a more of a feel for the story, that sort of thing, I would probably do it.
Yeah, it was definitely like we were looking up instead of us exploring and being like, "What's this portal lead to?" We were definitely like, "Is this the right portal? Is this the right door? No, it isn't. Moving on."
Yeah, what's the path to this like place that we need to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was more of a direct route for sure. And for me, it didn't matter because I played the damn game so much. But like for you guys or whoever hasn't played it, like I could see.
So the guy who wrote this Bloomberg article, his name's Jason Schreier. He also tweeted some more information too, saying that he says Blizzard said it was absorbing Vicarious Visions. What it didn't say was that Vicarious Visions. That's a horrible name. I can't.
Vicarious Visions. Yeah.
VV is what he calls it. Has been working on a Diablo 2 remake, and he said Team 1, Blizzard's classic team, was quietly dismantled last fall. Blizzard's Team 1 was responsible for StarCraft 2, Heroes of the Storm, StarCraft Remastered, and Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Ugh.
Which was the product of unrealistic deadlines created by financial pressures. His next project was going to be a Diablo 2 remake. Last year, Blizzard pulled the D2 remake from Team 1 and gave it to Team 3, the Diablo 4 team, which is now overseeing and working with Vicarious Visions on the project.
Wait, does that delay D4 then?
That's a good question. Or no, because they're being melded in, so I think they're still technically working on it.
But then aren't they just like D4 Team 0.5?
I guess so, yeah. I just thought it was funny here because we kind of teased Adriano about Heroes of the Storm, and it says that Team 1, who was quietly dismantled, they were working on Heroes of the Storm. So I don't know where that leaves Heroes of the Storm going forward.
This is just for Adriano too. It's a dead game, Adriano. Sorry, bud. That's not my public opinion. That's just my opinion for Adriano.
I mean, we shouldn't take joy in seeing a game he likes go down.
We're gonna get a message in the Discord, like a couple days from now. He's gonna be like, fuck you guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess Blizzard's kind of had a rocky couple of years here. We'll see what happens.
Could be due to COVID too.
That's true.
Organizations and stuff just be like, Jesus, we got to consolidate this.
I mean, my work has, while we don't necessarily need to all be in the same room working on things, we've had our own challenges. So I can't imagine what it's like when you need that, in-person collaboration. It's probably pretty rough.
I can't imagine working on something that's super creative where it's not like it's one person coming up with everything and then the other people are just doing the technical stuff. So like the creative gives the technical people instructions and then the technical people just go do it. Like gaming seems to be a lot more like the devs also have to be involved in the creative and stuff. And like, honestly, that would be like, I'm all about remote work and everything, but like, holy fuck, that's probably horrible.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I made this whiteboard. What's the password? I can't log in with the password. It's a call IT. Like, fuck.
Oh, God.
Like, Jesus. Like,
there's also just communication disasters. When people are, like, writing through email or chat services, there's just something lost in the communication, and you have to kind of over-explain yourself, I find.
Yes. I find that there's a lot more like, hey, just following up, because it's like that person doesn't know if you got it, and like you don't know if you got it.
Yeah, that happens too, yeah. All right, our final story for the week. Sony's new San Diego team is working on existing franchises. This comes from IGN. Michael Mumbauer worked at PlayStation Studios, worked at PlayStation as studio head until November 2020. In the segment on his profile detailing his work with the new San Diego team, Mumbauer writes, his latest achievement is having built a brand new all-star AAA action-adventure development team for PlayStation, based in San Diego and utilizing proprietary engine technology. This team was assembled to expand upon existing franchises and craft all new stories for the next generation of gamers. So I think what everyone immediately jumps to is an Uncharted game.
Oh, I was gonna yell Resistance.
Matt, you're holding on to that Resistance.
Literally, like one of 3 people on the planet that's like Resistance.
I'm with Matt. I want a Resistance. I'm just real about the situation.
No, they keep tweeting and like Instagramming pictures of it.
They do that for all their games.
So hang on a minute. Sony bought Insomniac. Now Sony can take that IP, I assume, and give it to whoever they want.
Spider-Man, not because of Resistance.
They bought them due to Spider-Man, but Sony needs a Halo-like game.
Like a shooter, you mean?
Yeah, like a shooter, sci-fi, just like, aliens are here, and then you know what I mean? Like that's what Resistance is. Aliens are here, time to kick some ass. Here they come, that's Resistance.
Sounds more like Gears of War than anything.
Whichever, like that genre to me is like sort of melded. Like PlayStation, Sony, whatever needs one of them. I'm convinced that a part of the purchase was due to Resistance.
I agree that they need it. I just don't think Resistance is going to be it.
Think about how easy it will be to make a Resistance game in comparison to these massive epics that Sony's usually makes. And when they see the fucking money come in from that multiplayer microtransactions, they know the Battle Royales and stuff make money.
Their games don't have microtransactions.
They also don't have like a Halo-like game. This isn't going to be an epic like at length Resistance. Like give me a Resistance campaign and then let me play online and microtransactions to death. I don't care, and that's fine.
This just sounds like a way for their teams to their like major league teams to move on to new ideas, but still keep those franchises alive and making money.
Right, like
Resistance is long gone and dead.
Yeah, but you could also say the same for like Final Fantasy VII. Right?
I mean, not if they keep remastering it.
At this point, sure, but like, I firmly, like, I actually believe it. Like, it's not actually like false hope. Like, I actually think it makes sense for them within the next 5 years to release or announce another Resistance.
You know what? I would even take a remake of the first Resistance.
Correct. I will take a remake of all 3. Like give us a Mass Effect, whatever that reworked package is, the remake, whatever it is.
I think that's more of just a high-end remaster, though. I want a remake of Resistance 1.
But like showing us just a remaster where they up the textures and like makes it work with the DualSense or whatever that they do, use some of the DualSense features, that is going to be awesome.
It does say here that in the featured section of Mumbauer's LinkedIn profile, between videos of a keynote presentation and GDC talk from him, is a video from YouTuber Robin Gaming about Sony secretly creating a studio to make Uncharted 5. The featured section of a LinkedIn profile is filled in by the profile owner themselves, and so this Uncharted 5 theory video has been purposefully placed there by Mumbauer. This is, of course, by no means an official confirmation of the rumor.
I think they mean Resistance 5.
No, probably not.
Although there have already been 5 Resistance games.
You're counting the PSP ones?
The PSP and the PS Vita one, yeah. The PS Vita one was really good.
There's a Vita one?
Yeah? What?
What?
Where you're the fireman.
That was Vita?
You goddamn right.
You sure it's not PSP?
No, 100%. I have a platinum trophy in it, bud.
I mean, there are 9 Yakuza games. Doesn't mean that the most recent one is called Yakuza 9.
Yeah, so therefore, Uncharted 5 is actually Resistance, the new one.
That is not what I was saying, no. Naming schemes, honestly, are just the most worthless BS garbage in games. I hate it.
What is?
Naming schemes.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone wants to like revamp their brand, and then they call it like, oh, this one, oh, the new Dark Souls is coming out, but it's called Dark Souls. It's like, we already got a fucking Dark Souls. And then they do it again with fucking like big things that even have sequels too, like Battlefront. Battlefront 2. Dumb. Except it's Battlefront 2018.
Or iPad.
Or iPad.
That they're just all called iPad now.
But everything that's not an iPhone is now no longer numbered and just called that going forward. It's just that. That's it. You got to buy it during that year, and that's the model.
Weird.
All right, let's get to the Query Corner question. Now, me and Matt were kind of debating this before the show, but
yeah, you were. It was getting heated. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had to fight Ryan off. I had to like drive over there and fight him off, even though we're not allowed to leave our homes.
I just want to start this by saying we don't actually know the numbers of sales between the next gen consoles, who's doing better or worse, but just kind of taking the temperature of the social media and just general zeitgeist. It feels like the PlayStation 5 is, if not selling more desirable. And so we kind of just wanted to talk about what could cause that, I guess. Does that sound right, Matt?
Just phrase what you just said again.
We're just trying to figure out what would cause the PS5 to be more desirable and potentially have more sales than the Xbox Series X.
Oh yeah, because you were saying that like the zeitgeist seems to be buzzing more about PS5 than it is about the Xbox Series.
Yeah, I've seen several jokes go across like social media about how hard it is to get PS5. SNL did a sketch on a guy wishing for a PS5 from Santa, and they're kind of joking that they're impossible to find. It just feels like PS5 is like the default console for most people.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that rides on the fact that the PS4 just decimated the Xbox One last generation.
So that's what we kind of want to get into is what could potentially sway, or what could have Xbox done to leap over that barrier of, oh, I had a PS4, might as well get a PS5. Because we have seen console loyalty switch, particularly PS3 to Xbox 360, right? And then back again from the Xbox One to PS4.
Well, here's the thing that I was kind of arguing was, my argument was that yes, there's been changes among each companies, but the companies have not changed themselves at the core. So Microsoft is very sort of corporate, very sort of like, they're very corporate. They're very, I don't know. I would call it maybe sales oriented, something like that. And they're like modern, but they don't feel maybe like super artsy is probably the way to say it. Whereas PlayStation seems to try to like push the bar, you know, make cool looking things, make things that like hardware wise that are awesome in whatever way that they think so. But because they're being so creative with their stuff, it falls flat. So like the PS2 really wasn't all that creative. And it was just like super utilitarian. But then since that generation, because that was the original Xbox, you got to remember too.
I guess
their intro.
The big thing with the PS2 was like the DVD drive, right?
Yeah, like that. But like
bigger and better games on that.
Well, you also have to remember too, like that was their second attempt. Like
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, and even the PlayStation, the first one had like a PS1 or whatever. Like there was a slim model. So like Sony knew what they were doing in this hardware race, whereas there was no slim, you know, Xbox original. That wasn't a thing. And so like to me, these companies haven't, since that first gen, just because like one was getting started, the other one was like pretty new. I don't think they've changed much. To me, I find Sony to be the creative and Microsoft to be like sort of the brawn, if you will, like the people that like come in and just like figure out like gaming. We need lots of games, lots of devs, lots of money put into this, you know, make it work quick and like make it competitive. Whereas Sony, like you can see it in the PlayStation 5's design. Sony did not have to have this crazy wavy design with like the weird stand and like all this stuff, but they did. Like that's what they decided to do. Microsoft went with use our old controllers. Here's a rectangle. You know,
there's definitely clear reasons why the PS3 lost that kind of generation. It was obviously a year late compared to the 360.
Right.
It was way too expensive,
which is a part of that creative thing.
It was hard to develop for,
right?
And that all kind of led, and they had Halo. Microsoft had Halo, and that was pretty big for them, right? Come the Xbox One generation and the PS4, obviously Sony had built up a repertoire of first-party developers with great titles on the PS3, and so going into PS4, they were already looking like the place to play your games. And then Xbox had the whole debacle with their whole console and focusing on multimedia,
always online,
the whole the always online thing. It was a bit of a PR nightmare, right? Here, it seems like both consoles were generally on par with each other. Yes, the Xbox Series X is technically more powerful, right?
Yeah.
So does it really just come down to that people like their PS4 and they just went with the PS5? I would argue that it has to do a lot with the games as well, though.
Well, my argument against that was I agree that there's going to be a subset of people that love Sony games. And I am one of them to an extent. Like, I do play a fair bit of the Sony titles and I do enjoy them. God of War is one of them, of course. Ghost of Tsushima, and the list goes on. But the thing is what my argument overall was that what makes a console win is which one becomes the default. So the 360 became the default because it came out early. Sure, Halo played a factor, but it was easier to develop for. Sure, but like because it was there earlier, it like really won that. It also had more modern features, like it had what do you call it? Private chats. They didn't have parties yet, but they had private chats, which I believe did not work on the Xbox or on the PlayStation. They had like more modern invite systems, of which PlayStation's, to me anyway, still feels quite dated. Because Sony's trying to show stuff off, right? Like their console could run Linux and shit, Mm-hmm. Microsoft knew that, like, who the fuck, like, no one's gonna run Linux on these things. Like, no one cares. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, Microsoft's very much like, here's a game console that's like relatively cheap, and they even had the debacle of the Red Ring of Death and all the broken 360s. They had the major debacle with that, and it still came out on top because it became the default. Because as the sales rolled in, the third-party developers, which make most of the games, went over to Xbox. When the Xbox One PR nightmare happened, you have the default switching because Jack Tretton at the time for PlayStation came out and just said the opposite, which is what gamers wanted. We're not always online. You could share the discs. You could do this. You could do that. And everyone freaked the hell out. There wasn't a mention at all, or at least not much to my knowledge, about digital stuff and DRM and online this and online that, even though the market has shifted largely to digital sales. That happened naturally, and Sony knew it was going to happen. They were just there for it. And that's a part about being the creative. So in order to get it to flip again, I think that we would have to start seeing either the next generation or this console has to start cracking at the seams. Not physically, but of course, like, for example, if Xbox, because they're just making rectangles, if Xbox is able to get the Series X down to the price of the Series S, Sony is going to be in trouble because they have this crazy form factor. And they won't give that up, I don't think. But Microsoft doesn't care. Microsoft will make a Roku into an Xbox if they have to, in my opinion. Whereas Sony would never put their name on that, in my opinion, again. Like, I think that that's really where the issue comes in. I'm sorry to say it, but like the Xbox Series X is just a console. Like, you plop it on I literally took my Xbox One out, plopped this thing on its shelf, and that was it. The friggin' PlayStation, I had to position that thing because it almost took up the whole shelf. And that shelf used to house an external hard drive, a bunch of controllers, and the PlayStation 4. Now the whole friggin' shelf's taken up by the PlayStation.
But I think I'm wondering if Xbox was getting a lot of praise up until the launch of the next gen consoles for being very consumer friendly, gamer focused. This is a box that can just play all your old games. It can play all the way back to the original Xbox. it has Game Pass at super amazing value. The design looks like nice and can just fit into your entertainment units. They were doing all these things that they were getting heaps of praise for, and I think, is it paying off for them is my question.
I think when you guys are talking about, like, when you go back to the root question of, like, what is it that makes the PlayStation seem more appealing than the Xbox, for example, you're coming at it from the perspective of, like, people who understand the tech. Like, you can talk all day and night about what is, running Linux on what system or whatever. Like, the average consumer isn't going to have any fucking clue about anything of that. They just want to, like, you have to think about, like, the vast majority of people, how many PS4s are out there? How many millions of PS4s are out there? And the vast majority of the people that own those PS4s are not tech people. They're just people that want to play video games. It's like, so why did they buy a PS4? Well, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that, like, it has the games on it that they want to play, or the multiplayer is there. Like, they want to play with their friends. I think that the answer to the question, you can break it down and try to look at the data about what is available on what system and what, how this chipset that's in this console beats out this chipset in another console, and how this can run it at this resolution and this frame rate, but the other one runs it at this resolution and this frame rate. Like, you can talk about that back and forth for days, but I think the answer to it is a lot more simple than any technical jargon. Like, when I was a kid, I bought the console that my friends had so that we could play games together, or that, then I'd see them at school the next day and we could talk about what we did in what games. Or, we could talk about what happened when we were playing multiplayer games together, that sort of thing. It didn't cross my mind at all that, the Xbox 360 runs games at a lower resolution than the PS3 does, but it runs them more consistently and more often at a higher frame rate. Like, I didn't think about that at all. Really, I think it has so much more to do with the end user experience than it does to do with the technical hardware piece of it.
I agree with you. I do think that is accurate, but there is still some reason why a majority of people shifted from one console to the next during that PS4 and Xbox One life cycle, right?
It just had to do with the end user experience, what it was going to mean for the average user at the end of the day, what the use case was going to be when they wanted to boot up their console and play some games. What was that going to involve? And the console that made it easier and more intuitive for the average consumer was the one that won.
And Tim makes a good point too, because PlayStation, like, I'm on Instagram a fair bit, and, like, I subscribe to some, or follow, whatever you call it, some meme accounts. And the meme about video games is always about the PlayStation. I literally have not seen a Series X or an S on there. And so, like, the console term synonymous with gaming in 2020, 2021 seems to be PlayStation. So then that would bring those players over, which would then cause the people who don't follow all this stuff to be like, I want to play with my friends. My friend has a PlayStation 5. I need to buy a PlayStation 5. And that would be the end of the conversation. And, like, that's why, like, my Xbox crowd, we play a lot of, like, shooters, like Call of Duty, whatever, typical, like, kind of Xbox lineup. But a few of them have a bunch of friends on Xbox, like other friends that, like, they work with or what have you.
Right.
And they play with those people. They're all Xbox. And the one guy is huge into it. He has a Series X, but he's huge into Xbox too.
So is the only way to get a leg up on your competitor then, is it to just hope that your competitor makes a mistake?
I mean, it certainly helps, but you just have to, look at what they offer as a platform.
That's what caused the two shifts we've seen in the last console generation. Was that Sony made a mistake, everyone went to Xbox. Mm-hmm. Xbox made a mistake, everyone went to PS4.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can definitely learn from the past, right? You can observe that, and you can You can see, well, that's what did it. So likely if that happens again, the same thing will happen. But you know, you can't bank on your strategy being your opposition making a mistake, right?
No, but that's why I'm asking, like, Xbox did all these consumer-friendly things, and did it pay off? Are they gaining ground on Sony? I don't know. We don't have those numbers.
We don't have the data.
I think they will, but I think they have to sell their features to the consumer. Like, they sell Game Pass, which sounds great, but it's almost like going back to that car commercial thing that we just talked about. They don't sell the lifestyle about it. Like, the best thing about Game Pass for me is not the fact that I have access to all these games, because for me, especially single player games, take a while to get through. So playing a single player game on Game Pass that isn't, you know, sort of locked in there effectively because it's a Microsoft game is a little worrisome, because the game, like, especially if it's a third party game, or when it's a third party game, I should say, it can be taken away. Right. And so then it's like, shit, do I have to buy this now? Even though it's at a discount because it's leaving Game Pass, it's like, shit, do I have to buy this? But the best part about it is the friend aspect. If we all have Game Pass, there's no excuse. Like, there's no, like, no, guys, sorry, I can't play that. No, guys, sorry, I don't want to buy that. Whatever. It's just literally like, what? Like, that's how
I don't want to play that.
What's that?
You just have to say, I don't want to play that.
Yeah, I don't want to play that. There's no like, fuck, man, I don't really want to buy that other Call of Duty, or no, I don't want to buy this or buy that. It's just like, that's how we played Sea of Thieves. Like, I played Sea of Thieves with you guys, but I also played it with my Xbox crowd. It was because we all had Game Pass. I
would not have bought that, yeah.
Yeah, I would not have bought Sea of Thieves. And that's how, like, I think that they need to sell that. They need to.
Actually, speaking of which,
you know, like,
I would not have bought the medium, and now I'm installing it on my console.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, why do you think the Switch has done so well? It's because their entire focus about marketing the Switch has been the kind of lifestyle that the Switch works for. Like, that first like announcement trailer that came out for the Switch, they showed it for young people that aren't always at home. They showed it for working class people that are traveling a lot. They showed it for people who want a game on a console experience, but then also want to take it with them on the go. Like, it's for people who play games with their friends, a la the way that you would if you had like a 3DS. Like, they've always been about selling the kind of lifestyle that the Switch works for. And that's why it's done so well.
I think they got lucky on how many people actually have rooftop parties, and everyone brought their Switch to their rooftop parties.
The Switch really landed at the right time, because the Xbox 360 tried that same strategy, and I don't think that panned out for them as well.
All right, that's all we got for the show. Thanks for watching or listening. Tim, thanks for joining.
As always.
I believe you stream at a certain Twitch?
I stream at a certain Twitch at a certain time. Some might say.
Twitch.tv/ yeah, that figures. We also stream our own Day One Patch stream on Twitch.tv/ Day One Patch Media. And,
Wednesday
nights,
nights,
you guys
Eastern Standard
Wednesdays at 8:30ish.
8:30, we're in there.
We're not very strict about our schedule. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a good night, everybody.